If you've ever played a deck like Branded Despia, then you'll know how it feels when you don't see a fusion spell in your opening hand. Those are the hands that you just absolutely can't do anything at all other than just set a monster and pass, which of course isn't usually going to fly in this format. So this build of Branded Shaddoll's that I made seeks to sort of solve that issue, and I'm hoping to show that through some of the test hands / combos that I have for you today. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, be sure to let me know by leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. But with that being said, let's finish shuffling up and get into our very first test hand, which is going to be a going first test hand. Before we begin, also, I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't checked out the deck profile, be sure to do so. I'll explain why I'm playing certain cards in there, and you'll be able to have a better idea of what we have access to. So starting off, we have Yugioh, Dogma, Super Polymerization, and Edgem Chain. So at first glance, this hand's gonna seem very interesting, like awkward. We don't really have access to like any of our main engines, no Branded, no Shaddolls, and no Dogmatika, but Yugioh Dogma, this single card gets you access to 2 of your engines, and honestly, this why I'm playing a card like this. It's very high risk, high reward, and I really like it for that. So we're going to start with Yugioh Dogma, activating its effect to send Applone. Applone's effect is going to trigger adding any Shaddoll monster from our deck to your hand. In this case, you want to add a Shaddoll monster specifically, so that being Hedgehog, just because we have no Shaddoll monsters in our hand, but we do have fusion spells. So that's kind of like, as a side note, is like the good thing about Yugioh Dogma. Sending Applone means you always get access to a Shaddoll monster, or you get access to a Shaddoll spell or trap. So we're gonna add the Hedgehog, and then we're gonna end up, we can end up sending the Polymerization. But I think I'm gonna end up sending the Chain just because I want to get more advantage to my hand. We'll activate the Chain effect. Chain is gonna add a copy of our Fight for Patchwork. Then we're going to activate the Patchwork, which is going to grab us our 3rd copy of Polymerization and our last Edgem Chain. So it is a little unfortunate. We dead drew like a lot of these Polymerizations, but the good thing is Polymerization is not once returned, so we can essentially keep fusing away if we really want to. Before we do that though, the other reason why Yugioh Dogma is so great is it gets you access to your Dogmatika engine as well. In the end phase, if we get Nibiru or something, or if we don't, we're able to summon Ecclesia. Ecclesia is going to search Fleur de Lis, and that's extra access to our Dogmatika engine. So even though we're paid low, this is not going to be sticky on the board. We're going to find ways to get rid of it. And that's going to be through activating Polymerization. We're going to get rid of the Yugioh Dogma and the copy of Shaddoll Hedgehog into a copy of El Shaddoll Shekinaga. So I'm going to say this card I would feel is pretty important. I was playing a card like Salamangreat Almirage and Secure Granite before, which I might have mentioned in the deck profile. But in the end, I decided to go with Shekinaga instead, just because I wanted more fusion monsters. And because the Salamangreat Almirage and Secure Granite only came up when you hard drew Yugioh Dogma, but this comes up with like Super Poly as well. But yeah, this is how we get the Yugioh Dogma off the board, so we don't just die by someone running it over. We'll summon out our Shekinaga in the extra monster zone. This is so we have the option to tag it out for Gravity Controller if we need to. We're going to activate the effect of Hedgehog. Hedgehog is going to add us any Shaddoll monster from our deck to our hand. We're going to add the Re-Shaddoll Wendy here. So after we activate Hedgehog effect to add the Re-Shaddoll Wendy, we're actually just going to set the Super Poly and proceed to end phase. We're going to activate the effect of our Titanic Cloud in the end phase, summoning out Ecclesia, and Ecclesia's effect is going to trigger to grab a Fleur de Lis. So I know this board is going to seem very underwhelming, but there's a lot more layers to this board than you might actually think. So as soon as our opponent activates a special summon monster effect, we're going to activate the Shekinaga, sending the Wendy. That's going to trigger Wendy to allow us to set any Shaddoll monster from our deck to the field. And essentially, this is important because now it makes our Super Poly a lot better. We now have a Shaddoll monster that can fuse with light or dark, and a lot of the things in the meta are light or dark. And then Super Poly alone is just enough to win games sometimes. We also, in addition, have the Dogmatika Fleur de Lis to special summon out to our field to negate something, and we're probably not dying with this board just because of like how big. Like this can't be killed by monster summon from the extra deck. These guys are really big. Squamata, like I said, is fusing away with something with the Super Poly, so we should be surviving this turn. And yeah, you see how powerful like a single copy of Yugioh Dogma is. Our hand was really bad. Like you saw like the opening hand, like it was pretty bad without this Yugioh Dogma, but this single Yugioh Dogma not only gets us access to our Shaddoll engine, it also gets us access to the Dogmatika package, which is why I play it. So that's gonna do it for the very first test hand. You guys let me know if you would have done anything differently, but I felt like with that hand, we did the best with what we could. That single Gale Dogra kind of got us access to like all of our different engines, and that's the great thing about Gale Dogra. It's just able to get you access to Shaddolls and Dogmatikas always, and like you're just probably not gonna die because you're always fusing the Gale Dogra off, or you're protecting it with like something like punishment or something. So we're gonna finish shuffling up and go into our going second test hand, where we're gonna assume we're playing into a hypothetical board. I always say with these, this is just purely hypothetical. We don't know what our opponent's gonna have. I'm not gonna assume we're playing through like XYZ disruptions. I'm just gonna be showing what are some of the plays the deck can do going second. So hopefully we get to showcase some of that. But yeah, finishing shuffling up. Let us get into this going second test hand, where we have Branded Fusion, Patchwork, Shaddoll Fusion, Squamata, and Edgem Chain. Drawing for turn, we draw Shaddoll Wendy, and this is a very strong hand. We have a lot of things we can do. So if your opponent has something, first of all, that only activates during the main phase, you can Shaddoll Fusion during the draw phase to like play around some of that. Let's say they have like Shaddoll Schism or something, which is only during the main phase, or whatever. Shaddoll Fusion gives you the option to fusion summon during the draw phase. So let's just assume we're going to do that. We're going to go Shaddoll Fusion in the draw phase, sending away the Shaddoll Wendy and Squamata, going for a copy of our App Clone. And then depending on what interruptions our opponent has, we can chain block our two most important ones, which are going to be Wendy and Apolone. We'll make Squamata chain link 3. It doesn't really matter if Squamata gets negated or not. Because we're just sending like a free card anyways. From here, I am going to send a copy of our Shaddoll Hedgehog. Activate resolving the Wendy. Wendy is going to summon any of our Shaddoll monsters in face down defense position. Now here's kind of where it depends on like what your opponent has on the board. If they have spells and traps, you want to go for Dragon, or you just want to draw a card, you go for Beast. There's just so many options you can have with this Wendy summon, but let's just keep it simple. We're gonna add a copy of Shaddoll, set a copy of Shaddoll Beast, resolve our App Clone, negating one of our opponent's monsters. In a new chain, we're gonna activate the Hedgehog effect that we just sent, grabbing us another Shaddoll monster. So let's assume it's gonna be a Shaddoll Dragon. The reason why we wanted these two to be the lower chain links is because this is gonna trade with one of your opponent's interruptions. This is gonna get us an extra monster for our future Guardian Chimera play when we resolve the polymerization. So that's why we wanted Squamata to be chain link 3. So from here, your options, like you want to probably save the Branded Fusion for last, just because like this can be a big finisher after your opponent. Like you play through all your opponent's stuff. This just does so much on its own. If your opponent Nibiru's you or something, like this is just a very good contingency plan. But anyways, from here, we can turn the App Clone into a copy of our Gravity Controller, activating the App Clone effect. Here's another point where you can force out an interruption with something like Shaddoll Fusion. Your opponent's like probably going to have to stop this if they have a way to, and if they don't, you're just going to resolve and get so much advantage. Speaking of advantage, we're discarding Edgem Chain, which is going to allow us to grab a copy of Fight for Patchwork. Patchwork's going to activate, which is going to grab us a copy of our Polymerization and another copy of our Chain. And this is kind of where our opponent's like in a very tough spot, because not only do we have access to Shaddoll Fusion now, we also have access to Guardian Chimera, because we have 2 monsters on board, and they know at the very least we have 2 monsters in hand. So either one, our opponent better have like hope they have like 2 Omni Negates to stop this. And like that's the crazy thing, like it's so unlikely that they do, because we already forced out so much with our App Clone play. Like it's just insane. I'm going to show you, like, let's just assume, like, our Shaddoll Fusion gets stopped. We don't even need this to resolve. That's the crazy part. If that gets stopped, we can go Polymerization. Polymerization, fusing away the 3 monsters on the board. That's going to go into our Guardian Chimera. You're very easily able to chain block it with the Beast and the Dragon. So Dragon's going to pop with Spell or Trap. Beast is going to draw us a card. Guardian Chimera is going to pop 2 cards and draw 1 more. So we're going to be drawing 2 cards, essentially. And our opponent's going to be losing 2 of their cards. So opponent's also unable to stop this because we have Polymerization in the graveyard, so they can't impermit or anything, and we chain blocked it. And the crazy part is we still have all this advantage in our hand that we still yet to use. Now that we draw Nadir Servant, we pretty much drawn a way for us to go for game. So I'm okay at this point just activating the Branded Fusion and just pushing out like big monsters that threaten to go for game. So we're gonna start with Branded Fusion. I'm gonna actually summon the Albion for multiple reasons. Albion is better here because not only does it load up snow into the graveyard, but it also puts more offensive pressure on the board. And that's because Albion is actually able to put its stick on the board after I fusion summon, and it's able to attack the same turn I use its effect. So after using Albion, I'm gonna banish these two, because like we have throwaway extra deck monsters in our graveyard now. We're gonna banish those two to summon out a copy of our Mirror Jade. This alone is game on the board. Considering we cleared 2 monsters from our opponent's board, we like negated a bunch of stuff. We still have a Mirror Jade send, so Mirror Jade can send this copy of Titaniclad, banish one of our opponent's monsters. And if this wasn't game, we still have access to Nadir Servant. Nadir Servant is going to be able to send an Entis. Entis is going to be able to destroy one of our opponent's cards. That's going to allow us to grab a copy of our Ecclesia. Summoning Ecclesia effect is going to grab us a copy of Fleur. And like, if this doesn't kill our opponent, then I don't know what will. Because this on board is easily over like 12,000 damage. And the crazy part is we could have saved this Nadir Servant until like we try to go battle phase. If they somehow have Nibiru, we're still able to make plays with the Nadir Servant. So that's just honestly the great part about like these different fusion engines. We just have so many ways to keep playing after and while breaking our opponent's board. So yeah, I hope you guys were able to keep up with that. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. So you can see now why I kind of feel like you don't need to play hand traps in this deck. Now that Scythe is like a less popular option in the format, a lot of the times your fusion spells just allow you to break the boards on their own. That's like, not to mention like cards like Super Poly just should make it easier a lot of the times, but even without Super Poly, your regular fusion spells just very easily break the board. Your cards like Nadir Servant break the board. So not only are these like engine cards and starters, but they also help break your opponent's board. So going second with this deck can also be very powerful. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this combo tutorial. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. I should be trying my best to grab a duel at locals, so it should be up after this video. If it isn't, then I'll grab one like in the future. That just means I wasn't able to get a good one at locals when I went this week. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.